You're listening to Becoming CEO, where we share our journeys as solo founders to becoming the CEO of seven-figure businesses.
And these are our behind-the-scenes conversations as we figure it out, and these are things that most people just aren't sharing.
Today is the last day of my very first employee's tenure with our organization. She's done.
You gonna put the tissues down?
I'm good. I think she's probably more emotional than I am, but it's a milestone. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a milestone.
Why is she leaving?
Another opportunity came up. More growth for her there. She'd been with us for 3 years. We were kind of like her first real job, like coming out of school. So that one doesn't really stick very often, right?
Yeah.
So good for her. I mean, we're happy for her. We support her.
And what was the role?
So when I hired her, it was me and really a couple of freelancers that would help with marketing. Mm-hmm. And I was doing all the sales, all the fulfillment, pretty much everything. I think I had a VA, like a kind of part-time VA at the time as well. Mm-hmm. And I needed somebody to come in and just be like the number two. Like the glue, I think we gave her a pretty glorified title at the time of operations manager for someone who was 20 something fresh out of school. Right?
As you do.
As we do. Right. And then she just took over, anything operationally that we needed to handle that I didn't want to handle that I could delegate to her. We did. It freed up my time to take out all the administrative stuff off of my plate. So at the time I could focus on sales and fulfillment, and anything else I didn't want to touch, basically, which was great. It gave me that capacity. We were able to scale as a result. And then as we grew as a company, her role evolved, right? And she ended up finding a place for herself within the client success organization. So her role evolved into the client success manager. We hired a more senior person to lead client success. And then obviously we have coaches and consultants on that team who deliver to our actual clients. And she was the manager on that team that kept that team together and on task. But then, that's the thing with first jobs, I think. Not just first jobs, but typically the first jobs is you get some good experience. It's been 3 years and it's time to move on. But for me, I think it's an interesting milestone because not only is she the first employee that's left, but she's probably the first kind of significant member of the organization. We've had, kind of contractors and people like that come and go, but she's the first significant member of the organization that is leaving, which has me reacting in all kinds of ways.
Like what?
On the one hand, I think there's this dream that a lot of founders have or CEOs have around, we're going to keep our people forever. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel this way, but I think like left unchecked, you might risk feeling like people leaving is a attack against you. Mm. Especially now with all the work that we do on culture and treating our people well and encouraging them and helping them grow. Mm. I think a more insecure CEO would treat this as an attack on them. Fine, leave. Go ahead. We don't need you. Right? I'm trying my best not to be that guy. I think the reality of it is people are going to come and go. And, if we think back to, certainly in my case, my career trajectory, when I left organizations, which I did, it wasn't anyone's fault, and it wasn't that anything went wrong, and it wasn't that, sometimes it was, right? But other times, it was just, there was more learning for me to be had somewhere else, and the organization, through no fault of their own, couldn't provide it, and it was just time to move on. And I think this is one of those situations. And so, we're trying to really, I think at this stage, pride ourselves on being an accelerator of people's careers. Yeah. I'm happy that this is somebody who came in with little experience, got a ton of experience, and is moving on to another role. And that's, I think, the thing that we're trying to double down on here is providing that experience to all of our people.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, It's funny because when you proposed this topic, I was like, it's been a while since like someone's left, and then literally that was on a Friday, and I woke up to work Monday. Someone said they were leaving, and then Tuesday, someone else said they were leaving. So it was like, well, you curse me.
And I can't help but feel partially responsible for that.
It's all your fault. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I think like that initial response I was like, F. I don't know if we're going to be cursing on this show and or if I have yet, but if I can, it'd be amazing. But I was like, at first I was like, dang, I felt like the punch in the side upon the second one. The first one was like unexpected. We'll figure it out. We had kind of had a plan that like was already in motion that was going to allow us to like bridge that transition. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's normal to have that initial response. I don't think there's anything wrong with that initial response as long as it's not directed at someone. Like go in the other room, scream it out, like let it out, and like just, but then step back and be like, all right, like how do I want to be the guy that's going to, go and like give them hell and make it really difficult? Or am I going to be the person that's like their biggest cheerleader? Especially when things are on good terms and it's not like for any reason that, like you said, like it's growth opportunity, like baby butterfly, baby bird's got to fly, like that's going to happen. And like looking back on the experience, how do you want to be the one that showed up? Like, do you want them like cheering you on from the sides down the road? Then like you got to handle it with, just like you're saying that you're handling it. And I think, I was trying to do the same. And also like that transitional period on the way out. I don't know how long of notice you got. For us, one of them is, out at the end of the month, 2-week notice. And one of them is actually going to kind of help support through an extra month. So really kind of blessed on that one. But we'll see to what degree is like the performance still happening, during that month. Are they already checked out?
And I got to tell you, though, the thing that I never realized I would enjoy as much as I do is making people's careers. I got to tell you, that's a real blast. So cool. The employee in question, we just had a town hall this morning, actually. We had about 14, 15 of our core team members in a room. It's the first time we've done something like that. We're going to do it quarterly from now on. And so we had a little bit of a tribute to her because she's leaving. Today's her last day. And she reminded me that when she first joined, I kept saying to her, I don't want to build the team. I don't want to build the team. I don't want to build the team. And here we are, right? So apparently, famous last words. But the thing
I remember when you said that. So
yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But the thing that really I had no idea I'd get such a kick out of it, but it makes sense now, is just building people's careers. So here's one who came in with, she was green. 3 years later, she's got a ton of skills, practical, real world, small business stuff. She's scrappy. She's smart. She's capable. She can do anything now. We got a salesperson who's an ex-banker. This guy used to run a division of the Royal Bank of Scotland, the Middle East and North Africa division of the Royal Bank of Scotland. He had over 100 direct reports. Like top brass banker. Looking for a second career, comes in, joins a sales team, does $1 million in sales in his first year. New career, right? And there's several examples that we have of people that have come in and just made a new career for themselves, built a career from scratch, or set themselves up via their experience with us. And I got to tell you, man, that's exciting stuff. That's addictive. Be able to provide that opportunity for people. That's not going to get old anytime soon.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing so far, if we wanted like listeners to have any sort of kind of key nuggets or takeaways from this, so far I'm hearing two so far. The first is kind of gut check your initial response and really outward response to this person leaving. Don't be the dick, be the supportive, mentor that you probably have been in their life, or at least how they saw you, and don't let them leaving ruin how they looked at you because you probably, whether they realize it or not, you should realize that you were a huge component of their growth, especially if, you're like your situation. And I would agree with, if someone's with you for 2 or 3 years, like, I mean, they wouldn't have been there that long if they weren't continuing to grow. And, they reached a point where they now need a different challenge. And that's just part of business. So first lesson is like, I guess, be the type of leader that, you would look back on the experience and be like, yeah, I handled that, really, really well. And I'll be that person's mentor, forever, as long as they, seek advice. So that was the first one. And then in the first one, I lost the second one. So I don't remember if you have a second one out of that.
Yeah, I would say the second point is people are going to come and go, and that's just the nature of business.
Yes.
And if you set yourself up to provide them with the best experience and make their experience with you a platform for their future, one, they're going to thank you for it, and they'll never forget the experience. And two, you get really good at recruiting.
Yeah. So I mean, this happens to you a couple times in a row, right? Like for me, I mean, on the sales side, this is probably not uncommon. I mean, like we've gone through, primarily a lot of these roles are heavy commission based. The appointment setter role, or SDR as someone would call them, like that's a grinding role, right? Like you can be worn out, and you probably, some people are only going to make it a year, 2 years in that role. Some not even, from a performance perspective. So like, there's services that we've used for filling these sorts of gaps. And like, you kind of get a rhythm of, you're like, oh, I actually kind of have a system to onboard and train those people and get those people to speed. But as it starts happening in other areas of the business, it really does kind of expose like, man, like we need to create some training, some redundancy around some of these other roles, because like the likelihood of someone growing into and out of the company is just as much likely in this kind of growth mode that we're both in, that like, hey, we got to like maybe fortify some of that too, because if another person on your client success team leaves, like, dang, like, and now it's going to be, a lot of your time to now go back and like get someone back up to speed, like the derailing.
That's not funny, by the way, Greg. If you're joking, if that's an attempt at a joke, it's not.
Oh, like trying
not funny.
to
I'm not laughing.
Give it right back to you. I apologize if on Monday you find out that someone else is leaving.
Oh my God, no.
But like,
I
so
got
we have
all
a
kinds
coach.
of wood on my desk here. I'm knocking on.
Yeah, so we have like one of our lead coaches leaving, who fundamentally took me out of our front end program. Handles 2 calls a week. Does some one-on-one. Clients love him. And so, yeah, like, and we've been talking with him even like middle of last year, like we need to figure out like, one, we're going to need more people like you, and we should start codifying this. And we just never, we hadn't gotten around to it. And then now it's like, man, I wish we had gotten around to it. 'Cause now we have to. And yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me, like in this whole story, is at least in my experience that, I didn't think I had much to share until you cursed me. That like, I think this is part of that like 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 3 to 10, 3 to whatever growth area, where it's like, it really is about dialing in the team culture, the systems, the onboarding, the training, the internal systems, because as a manager, like I definitely still wear the hat of a manager in some areas, as well as the leader. From a manager, it's like manager is about service, not about control. And so it's like, do we have the systems and the structure set up for me to provide service to my team so that they can be up and running and performing at their best? And like on the sales side, we have that way more dialed in, not perfect, but because we've had to bring in people more frequently. But like, we don't have that, at this stage of the game. And, it's like, you kind of start to hear like all the people that are like, oh, like, above 1 million, it's really about people and systems. And it's like, man, like I'm a systems person. Like I've been focused on systems since day one, but it's like, this is like a different kind of system. And yeah, one that I didn't have to worry about or consider or start building until now. And so, but yeah, it kind of like from I guess, how's your the thing that I'm feeling that I'd love your take on is because I feel like every time I've gone to, or like we're starting to feel some momentum and like, yes, we're like picking up pace. We just got to focus on these things. A key person leaves and pulls me back into, well, now I got to go fix team. And it kind of, it has slowed us down. Like we're just starting to sprint and it's like, oh wait, we can't sprint just yet. I got to fix this. Oh, sprinting. Oh, nope. Can't just sprint just yet. And every time. And so like, that's why I feel like we've been kind of stuck pretty much at the same revenue level for almost 12 months now. And like we'll spike up and then come back because we have to come back and fortify one of these things. Like I don't know. I'm like, man, is it always going to be like this? Like, how do I like power through? And maybe it's just finding the right people.
I think the answer is yes, though. I think it's always going to be like this. Have you read Winning by Tim Grover?
No, not yet.
Oh, you got to read it.
Yeah, I like him, but don't at the same time. It's like he's just kind of aggressive, I feel like. But yeah,
he's very aggressive, but it appeals to my toxic masculine side quite nicely. Tim will say, he's got great metaphors in the book that I won't ruin, but he'll say, listen, winning will watch you play the game in the stands. Winning will watch you put everything that you have out on the floor. Winning will watch you take that last shot right before the buzzer. And winning will watch you miss. And winning will wink at you on its way out. It's elusive.
Yeah, it really is.
And I got to tell you, I don't know, but I got to tell you, I think that's the game. I think that's really why we're here, is you get really, really close, and then something happens out of the blue. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's always something.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's what takes most people out of the game. Those things.
Yeah. I think it's really got me thinking about how we need to build out some internal training to make bringing on some people and getting them up to speed more efficient, because it can't always take as much of my time or everyone else's time to like bring them up to speed. Like we kind of got to make them self-sufficient out the gate. So we have some stuff to do there. And then also what it's made me realize too, in conversations with you and a few other folks, just kind of understanding how they structure some of their teams. We were talking about this the other day. At least in our business model, like e-learning, high-ticket coaching, consulting, I'm starting to see some serious trends of like, okay, on client success, there's like a couple key roles that will probably be with you for 2-3 years, maybe more. But then there's like coaches, for example, like your subject matter expert coaches that are probably never going to be like full-time employees, because they either probably have a job of their own or they're building their business and like they have their own expertise. And you're going to probably need like a bench of those sorts of players that can come in and probably give you a year. I was talking to one of my former mentors, and he was like, yeah, I make all of my subject matter experts, my success coaches, sign a year-long contract that says like, you'll get like, this is a great opportunity for you to kind of come up in my system, see how we manage, but like, I need you to commit to this for at least a year. If you want to go longer, great, but like, I need you to tell me and commit and sign that you'll support for a year so that we can focus on other things. And I was like, that's brilliant. Like, I'm going to do that next, because it also ties into what you said earlier. Is like, you are an opportunity, like you are a mentor to these people. And so if you can find the right people that can provide you support, but also could value from your like close proximity to you and your team and access, like then get them to sign on to your mission and vision for at least a year, so that you don't have to worry about that. The fear of them maybe leaving. Obviously they can probably leave anyway, but like that kind of commitment is something that I think is really interesting. And so now there's like structural, what's the dynamic, which roles are full-time, which roles do I kind of need that are going to be like the rock, and then which are the ones that I should just expect to kind of be shorter term players, and knowing that, how do I now structure success team, sales team, etc. So
see, what you're doing now is you're fortifying your entire organization, and you wouldn't have been thinking about this unless somebody quit.
Yes. Yeah, this is like, it's the same example, guys, if you're listening, like, the longer, like the people that are like, oh, I haven't taken a vacation for 6 years. It's like, well, take a vacation and you will know what's broken, which is good because you'll come back and you'll know what to fix. Like if you're always, workationing, taking your laptop, like you're the Band-Aid. Like there's a lot of duct tape going on, and like this is just another level of that. And so it's like it's gonna happen. It has to happen. And you need it to happen as I think an owner and a leader, because again, like you said, like you need to start fortifying these things, and just understand that this is a natural part of business. And if you're going to play the game, you got to learn to deal with this and navigate this, because it's going to be just another play in the playbook, a different role, a different person. Hopefully, obviously, always on good terms, but you got to expect that it's not always going to play out that way either. Because this game is also
I would say particularly also, I think in both of our cases, these are people that were that participated in a growth phase.
Yes.
And I think what I'm learning is that when somebody participates in a growth phase, the role evolves based on the person.
Yeah.
And then when that person leaves, there's all these almost obvious now in retrospect opportunities to restructure the way things are done, because you'd really molded everything around this one person or these few people because they were there.
Yeah, there's probably some crutches. There's probably some crutches in there that aren't healthy or right, which we talked about personally. So yeah, I do. I think like you have to look at this as a good thing, and approach it as a good thing and an opportunity to to make more of the foundational elements of the business stronger. So it stinks. It's going to happen. Part of the game, part of business. Good for those people. Just be the gracious leader on their way out. And even after, I think, I'm sure you'll interact with this person in some way, shape, or form down the road.
And I got a lot more to say on the topic of how come things keep blowing up in my face when I think we're close. But we'll save that for the next episode.
Sounds like there's some doubt. In the next episode, self-doubt.
Coming up on Becoming CEO. All right, we'll see you guys soon.